see the different medals that will be awarded over the next 24 hours here on the beach in Dubai. Getting ready to introduce the teams. We look at the USA roster first, Brian, and you know, Trey Kotzenbach, he's been a legend in the sport. Danny Clark, the reigning Farraker Award winner in the men's division at USAU Nationals. Just two of the names on this very accomplished roster of players. Let's listen in, if we can, hear the introductions. So the introductions of Team Canada and Team USA. We were getting ready to talk about, Brian, some of these names on the USA roster. Who has stood out to you this week?
Danny Clark has been #1 in the minds and hearts of the American public, a player that could probably be in the open division very easily, still playing hard for Boston Ironside. It's almost unfair that he's playing in the Masters division. I like to think of him, he's not Russian, but I like to think of him as a Russian rocket, able to get out there with wide receiver type speed, able to make great catches in the air. Danny Clark is fantastic.
For this Canadian team, Scott Hasty has great experience, shooter as they call him. He's the head coach of GOAT and assistant coach for the Toronto Rush in the AUDL. The captains of Canada, Andy Milne and Warren Tang. And you mentioned this is a Canadian team that frankly didn't really expect to be here in the finals with how they played through pool play. They lost twice to Australia, and in the Open Masters division there were only 6 teams competing, so they did a round robin and the 2 pools of the top 3 and the bottom 3, upper 3 playing for seeding, bottom 3 playing for the remaining spot in the semis, and then the semis and the finals. So it's a lot of playing each other over and over again. USA has already beaten this Canadian team twice, but Australia had beaten Canada twice as well, and well, they're not here. Canada is. And
you're in the win, so you throw all past results out the window. And I got a chance to talk to Captain Andy Milne before the game. Actually plays for the club team called Union, a newcomer on the Canadian scene in terms of getting results, and especially last year going to Lecco, Italy. Union got fifth. There's a core of Union players on this team. Milne played on Queens himself, starting in Ultimate back in 2009 on that squad. It's been an up and down week for them, but they've been trying to build towards this moment, and that's what we talked about at the beginning of the week, Evan, is these teams came in, a lot of them not practicing together. They actually rented out volleyball courts to get some time in Canada, and now they're here in the final with a chance to get gold in the win, which may equalize everything on the field.
Tyler Grant unleashes the opening pull, and we're underway in this Open Masters Championship game. Matthew Brisebois unleashes the first throw. It's right on the money. The speedy Sean Chua. Oh, and a drop. Point blank range, Amanda Moore. Now we'll see this USA fluidity. Although how smooth will they be in the wind? Looking deep for Grant, and it won't get there with Chua defending.
I got to talk to the two captains of Team USA, Trey Katzenbach and Kimberly Leach, before the game. They're really discussing strategies that they had going for up and down when something we've debated all day long.
Again, another deep shot to Chua. And another throwaway by Chua.
Chua has no problem gaining separation. It's going to be something that Team USA is going to have to prevent. And it's a weapon for them right off the bat. I'm surprised it took Tyler Grant already 2 times to figure out that Chua is that fast.
Brisebois comes up with the interception, knocks it away. Opening point here.
He scored the winning goal yesterday against Team Australia. Waiting at the front of the stack and got an inside break. Easy money for the game-winning score.
Brisebois, one of the main handlers for Montreal Mephisto, works as a personal trainer. This is Chua. Can he finally complete a pass? We'll see. This is the second of 7 championship games. We'll have 5 title games tomorrow, bidding with the Grandmasters, the Open Masters, and then Women's Open and Mixed.
When you get to Grandmasters, you're literally talking about some individuals who have written the book on the sport. Jim Peronella has had one of the greatest blogs of ultimate information that you can read online. All you need to look is for Peronella's blog, but also actually wrote The Ultimate Techniques and Tactics, a book that I bought in my later years of college and guided me on my journey here to the booth.
Guided many. A couple U.S. players, and what an adjustment made there. Incredible by Sean Murray, and USA gets the opening score. Navigating around one teammate, 2 defenders, and fighting through the wind. Murray makes the catch of the point.
Murray playing for the club team Shuyamuf, or kind of short for Shut Your Mouth. Group of club players who have formed things like gun-toting teddy bears and bashing piñatas out of New York City scene.
Ultimate players are so creative naming things, usually.
A shout out to, I believe, Joe Smash and Ryan West have been a lot big-time contributors in the mixed community in New York City for a long time.
Glistening ocean, the Persian Gulf. In the background, there's shore for the United States.
You know, Evan, it's been a pretty clear day besides the sandstorm that rolls through every about 5 minutes.
Yeah, really. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln. Their own end zone. A deep shot spun by Norman Liu. And on the verge of the end zone, coming down with it, Galloway. Jamie Galloway looking for the easiest option. And she draws the foul on Bridget Kane.
Takes advantage of the physical marking. Actually looked like she knew she had a foul if she wanted it and took it as the stall count got high.
bullet just out of the reach of Chris Welsh. Great velocity on that disc to squeeze it through, and a little too much, it turned out.
Talking to the captains of Canada before the game, they told me that Chris Welsh was one of the surprising players coming into this tournament. Throughout the tournament, he's been tireless, just had the motor that's keeping the offense running as a cutter downfield.
Wooten, does he have enough speed? A string bean like deep cutter for USA. All shy of that disc. He doesn't let too many discs nearby go uncaught.
Formerly of Chain Lightning, and Joel Wooten is actually one of the remaining, you could call him near bow defenders in the world. When he was in his prime, was always chosen to take that matchup. You just don't see guys at 6'5", 6'6" with that type of speed. Other guys that kind of fit that mold that maybe are now in the Masters age. Colin Mahoney was somebody who would match up frequently in bow in college at Brown when Bo was in Colorado, and also in Boston Ironside versus Revolver.
Long lets it fly, looking for Welsh again, and a good defense there from Tyler Grant.
Grant, formerly of Revolver and a mixed player for Mischief. I'm impressed with his throwing ability thus far. One of the things Kimberly Beach, Trey Katzenbach, the captains for Team USA, were talking about, we're trying to keep the disc in bounds when on the backhand sideline or the far sideline. Notice how difficult that will be, and you see Tyler Grant being very careful not to give Canada a very short field.
Break of the mark to get it to Welsh. Marked by Grant. Plays it back. This is Amanda Moore. Pressured by Remy Shore. Lung takes another shot. Why not? But he's 0 for 3.
And that's okay. It's going to happen. You can't worry about statistics. You can't worry about getting down because you missed a throw you normally make. The wind's going to affect everything in this game, from throws to catches.
This pops over everyone.
Got a chance to talk in between games here with Ravi from Gate Horizontal, and we happened to speak to one of the captains for the Philippines, and they said, you know, it was amazing, and it's something Tim Morrell echoed, it was amazing that after all their hard work and all their system and strategy, it came down to throws and catches, and the reason why they're not in the final.
Classic semifinal, though. A crazy universe point that involved a Spirit timeout, a bunch of different stoppages, obviously very different stakes on the line, but similar to that semifinal at Club Nationals between Ring and Ironside, and just the longevity and the importance of the point in this tournament. And it's the tall reach of Joel Wooten that hauls in the USA score, 2-0 for the U.S.
The wind isn't as high as it's been in speed since the middle part of the day, but it's still very much up there, and so far Team USA has been just a little bit better at getting the disc, and that's why they have the 2-0 lead.
Joel Wooten, his brother Frank Wooten, similarly dynamic in terms of length and speed. This is the Mixed Masters Final here at the World Championships of Beach Ultimate, the 4th ever Beach Worlds, the first international ultimate event held in the Middle East. And it really has been unbelievable. We've talked about it throughout the week. That I have to think that anyone's nerves have been quelled by how they've been treated here in Dubai. The tournament has been, from where I'm sitting, flawlessly managed and run. The amount of water that they've had at every field. This is a shot from the back of one end zone into the other, but falls incomplete. Skips out of play. It's amazing. Thousands of multi-gallon jugs of water have been brought to every field relentlessly. Even walking up and down the beach, you're never far from the water. You're never far from someone with a walkie-talkie, a staff member, a volunteer.
And it's just so important to thank the volunteers here, like you said, Evan. They put on a great event. I know we've been really privileged to do this, and just an amazing opportunity.
Breeze Blah Blah lets this one pop up. Nobody's got a shot. Goes underneath that Red Bull truck. Danny Clark's first point of the game after the USA took a 2-0 lead. Without him, he's primarily played just offensive points. O-line stalwart for Boston Ironside.
Curious to see from both teams. I know talking to Team Canada, they were already going to mix up the lines.
Clark lets it fly. Good float. Murray in pursuit. What a put by Danny Clark. Usually not much more as a receiver, but that was gorgeous.
I don't remember the last time I saw Danny Clark throw a huck. Usually nobody's worried about Danny Clark in the deep game, and that's one of the most enjoyable things when you get to see the wind. You see players like Danny Clark get the chance. Why not? Put it deep.
Clark wasn't initially planning on being on this team, but when Depp and his family prevented him from going to Lecco with Boston Ironside, certainly a key part of that Ironside offense that wasn't in Lecco. And he realized that he might be able to make this excursion work, and these players, for the most part, all paying their own way to be a part of this experience. Canada takes the time out. So when Joel Wooten called him and said, look, you've got a spot on the team if you want it, what do you think? Trying to twist his arm a little bit. He finally realized that, yeah, he could come here. It is not his first time in Dubai, though, like most of these other players that are experiencing the Emirate for the first time. Came about 4 years ago, and he's back and with a 3-0 lead in the championship game in pursuit of a gold medal.
70 teams here, represented 25 countries, and we've had the opportunity to look at some up-and-comers in the ultimate community, and I'm sure we'll get more of a chance tomorrow as we go through a finals to kind of recognize this, but a big shout out to Team India, who surprised everybody coming in, and they're still missing some of their top players. These programs rely on the ultimate community support to help fund some of the stuff they do, and they get the chance to come out to shine. Team Uganda, Team Kenya, the UAE, the host country we got to do a game of. It's really exciting to see not only the cultural exchange, but just the ultimate, wow, like eye-opening experience for a team like Qatar that comes in and says, they had 5 high schoolers and 10 players only, and those 5 high schoolers said, wow, this is ultimate. This is how it's supposed to be played.
Hopefully those high schoolers continue to play and become teachers in their own ways to the next generation. USA with a 3-zip lead, and after the timeout, just a gorgeous blading backhand pull. That was a heck of a chuck from Keegan Ool.
Canada needing to fine-tune their strategy at the moment. Team USA is simply beating them behind the disc and executing better on their throws, and that's what it comes down to in the win game.
Tough grab from Welsh, lets it fly. Great defense from the USA. That was Maureen McCamley who even turns it over in response.
And that's the danger you take by doing a short dump.
And Canada gets on the board. Peyton Long has not had much success throwing for the end zone, but as a receiver, he's steady. And Canada makes it 3-1.
Normally Tyler Grant is going to make this catch, and this opportunity isn't there for Team Canada. The more opportunities you get like that, the easier this game is in the wind. And that's what it comes down to, is who gets the bounces, how can you create turnovers close to the other team's territory. And that's why if you're Team Canada, you know, your man defense has not really worked thus far. You're not being able to stay tight with the Americans. perhaps this would be a time to experiment with a zone defense that would trap them against the sideline. But we've seen limited success with that in this 5-on-5 Beach Worlds.
The first time we see the offensive line of the USA. Kimberly Beach and Maureen McCambley, the two females. Annie Clark in the middle of that line. Trey Kotzenbach and Chris Quimmer rounding out this quintet for USA. And unfortunate break for Canada on the pole. I'm not sure that ever came back in bounds.
It's a risk that you don't need to take. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you're getting it out of your own territory. Go back to a comment I made earlier about when I was coaching the Rochester Dragons versus the Philadelphia Phoenix. I told my players, if you're behind the 30-yard line, you better be hucking it or you're fired.
And Danny Clark on the first throw hauls it in, just unstoppable in the end zone. Unfortunately, unlike Donald Trump, you don't follow through on your threats to CAN employees. Danny Clark just, you said earlier this week, it's unfair for him to be playing in the mixed masters division. Even in mixed or open, he would be a dominant force.
Come all the way from Salisbury University.
Guy who defies his age.
He played on Pike before going to Boston. Those Pike teams, that was a big moment and marked an ultimate history in 2004, I believe, where Pike made the semifinals for the first time. It was the first time you saw in the open division in the U.S. that a team kind of outside of the ultimate royalty could make it into that. And since then, we've seen a lot more parity in the open division, especially last season. Evan, you got to take the opportunity to cover those crazy semifinals.
They're both great. Bravo over Goat after Goat had knocked off Revolver in that Ring Ironside game. A polarizing affair.
We both got the chance to actually talk to Jack Hatchett about how good Danny Clark was and who the fastest person in Ironside was. And Danny said, I believe, Jack, I'm quoting Jack here, that he'll stop playing once John Stubbs can beat him in a foot race.
I think he said he'll think about retiring when John Stubbs can beat him in a foot race.
But Stubbs, he's laying down the gauntlet. Although I'm sure Ironside will like him to stick around.
Oh, Grant air bounces over all the defense. And then Peyton Lung knocks it away with Sean Murray in the area.
Here in Mixed Masters for Team Canada, the preeminent team for the last several years has actually been Team Fisher-Price out of the West scene, but I believe they only have one player from the West Coast. They're mostly with an East Coast core and a Union core.
Defended there by Lori Ike. The end zone. Murray lets one fly. Defended by the pouncing Canadian Norman Liu.
Liu is one of the considered top throwers on this Canadian team. It's going to be partially on his shoulders to help lead the team back into this game. And we've seen this here. The wind allows for swings and comebacks. And while Team USA has been utterly dominant in the tournament thus far, it only takes a couple of plays to get back in a game like this.
You know, if not for the USA and Canada jerseys and the incredible broadcast crew with 6-7 cameras, the broadcast tent, the nearly perhaps thousands of fans who have migrate over to this area. Without all that, this is a pickup game on the beach, not a gold medal game in the Mixed Masters division.
But as soon as you add the words USA and Canada to any ultimate game.
Laying out Murray Just falls short.
Everybody wants to know who won. And today it's North American bragging rights in the ultimate community. Last time I recall a very major defeat from Team Canada over the US was actually 2008, where they hosted Worlds in Vancouver. It was mostly a Seattle Sockeye represented US squad that lost to a furious George and dominated Canadian squad. In days of Ulti Village and standard definition footage, Ultimate's undergone quite the revolution since then.
Tyler Grant sizing that one up defensively and comes down with a disc intended for long. Slow release. The lefty Ike, though, could not connect with her teammate. Back and forth we go. The USA leads Canada 4-1 in this mixed Masters final. Evan Leffler and Brian Jones alongside here on Dubai Sports. Partnership with Sky Magazine, streaming across the world. It is wake-up hours in the East Coast. Still very early in the morning out west. And again, USA exerting its ultimate influence as the dominant team, especially in the mixed Masters division, leading 5-1 now.
You know, when you go into a conversation with Trey Katzenbach, you expect the normal, yeah, we have a pretty good team, we feel confident, but when he looks you in the eye and he says, we have a good team, you know that they're not necessarily arrogant and overinflated, they're just ready to go with his experience.
And he's telling you the truth.
Just a great performance by Team USA.
Trey Katzenbach is a name that has been around Ultimate for a long time.
Actually playing in Philadelphia, played for the Spinners in the opening years and played for Southpaw. At one point in time, he did play for Pike and then moved up, decided to take the 5-hour commute to Boston to play for what were then the beginnings of Ironside as Boston Ultimate transitioned from the dog powerhouse.
Short pull scooped up by Andy Milne, one of the captains. Airs that one out to nobody.
Remember, Ironside players would talk about Katzenbach's motivation. They talk about his motivation in that he would email them as he's on a 5-hour bus trip with Wi-Fi saying, I can't wait to do this workout with you guys. I just did one right before I got on the bus. So much energy and so much enthusiasm for the sport.
Woot tips that and catches it out of bounds. Pivoting around the big mark of Scott Hasty. Katzenbach airs one out. Clark, the nearest American, floating to the sideline and is barely inside the barricade beyond the field of play. Beautiful wide shots here on the primary stadium beach. Great setup. The 2015 Beach World Championships, a once in every 4 years event. Quadrennial event.
You know, I didn't have the opportunity to really go to a Beach Worlds or really watch much beach play. Take a look at the
contact there. It just fell incomplete regardless.
And I wasn't sure what to expect, but I can tell you I'm sold, especially because it allows for countries that don't have other programs in grass to really compete at a high level. The 5-on-5 play reduces the amount of depth you need, and it's a great opportunity.
This is Chua over for Hasty. In recent years has done more coaching than playing. Turns it over. Katzenbach knocked it away.
I know personally, Hasty has become sort of a friendly personal rival. Coach Pony and the Rochester Dragons, and we've been the David to his Goliath, trying to take him down in the AUDL in the past 2 seasons. He really got a big break last year, making it through the semifinals. It's great to see. Almost had an all Northeast final.
Goat and Boston. Not quite though. They will be back for sure. Anchored by Mark Lloyd.
There you are!
He's become a star, certainly one of the top 5 guys in the world at the moment. Might be number 1.
It was somebody that Revolver couldn't handle, and a big reason why he was unable to make it through.
Oh, that's the first time I've ever seen Danny Clark drop the disc.
The win turns experienced players into beginners.
Shot to the end zone. Intercepted. And Woot fakes a backhand hook, unleashes a flick. And Katzenbach, with all his years of experience, couldn't read that one the right way. That's been the story of the day. The wind has ripped the headline off the page with gusto.
I think there's a lot of inexperience in general with these type of very windy games, and so the strategies actually vary quite a bit. We haven't seen zone yet, which is a certainly viable strategy in 7-on-7 play.
Mill, this one pops up. Clark stumbling and D's it with the back of his leg.
Kick save and a beauty.
You gotta be kidding me.
But before the game, we saw Captains Beach and Katzenbach discussing
left leg.
They were discussing whether or not they wanted to force the Canadians always downwind, or should they always be going force flick. How they should be playing defense. Something that a lot of teams don't have experience with, so it's not very clear, especially because you don't know, all right, it's 30 miles an hour wind. We use this strategy. Okay, it's 25 miles an hour. No, it's very windy.
Centered for Hasty. And Chua with a casual drop. Clark gives it to Katzenbach. Looking deep for Woot.
Tomorrow we'll have the 5 finals, Grandmasters, Masters, Mixed, Women's and Open, all back to back to back, so we'll have a very busy day. But
5 consecutive hours of great ultimate here on the beach. Hopefully the wind dies down a little bit.
I was gonna say you couldn't ask for much more.
How about that? Canada gets their second score. A fortuitous flick of the disc as the wind pops it up, and Aaron Dahlke. Look at this. I got the D, I got the D. I don't have the D.
That's, you could just label that as an unfortunate misread of the disc because the wind's going to pop it up over, but really, for young players out there, sometimes in those situations, you don't really need to actually play the disc, but just play the receiver itself. So you could simply locate the person you're guarding, make sure that they don't have position to be able to go ahead and get the disc, then make the play once the disc comes to you. Chance earlier this weekend will be a chance for a lot of players here to actually tend to rise up clinical, cover topics like that. Mario O'Brien's done a great job with finding ways to introduce topics in a rapid fire succession.
What's it been like for you to be part of some of these youth clinics as a coach?
It really is an incredible experience, and that's why I do it. You want to see people getting better, and sometimes the best way to do it is to work on one skill for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And sometimes the best way is to consider the people you're teaching as more leaders who are going to take back some little tidbits home and just continue to get people better, because when you see someone improve and make the strides and gains you know they can make, there's nothing better as a coach.
You said to someone earlier this week who wasn't all that confident in his throws, I could teach you how to throw in 30 minutes. What's your secret?
Secret is just years of dissecting throws, and a shout out to Alex Cooper. Actually got to run a clinic at SUNY Geneseo. Teach some of my players how to throw.
Winner to the end zone for the United States score. Hauled in by Tyler Grant.
You know, when it comes to throwing, Evan, everybody has their own philosophy in how they teach. And so there's a lot of different ways to get the same thing. But there's a lot of fundamentals that some people miss, and there's a reason why when you see a good thrower, they have a look and feel to them in the way that they are very balanced, they can pivot. And you know, head coach of Revolver, Mike Payne, I believe said in an interview with you, or actually an interview with me, sorry, I'm confusing some times here, that throwing begins from the legs up, meaning that you have to have a solid base in order to deliver an accurate throw and be able to throw in all situations. And so, on a day like today, you know, we can talk about defense, we can talk about everything else, but a lot of ultimate still is just a series of throws and catches. And if you don't have the fundamentals down, sometimes some college teams especially, or young players, are wasting their time trying to worry about, well, what host stack formation do you run? What side stack do you run? What zone do you run? Worry about the fundamentals, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, it truly does just come down to repetition. You know, you come across people that say, oh, I can't throw. No, you can't. You just need to practice. And if you practice every day for 2 months for an hour each day, you will become a good thrower. By trial and error, it helps to have someone who knows what he or she is doing there to help, but that's how I learned how to throw. I was mediocre at best as a freshman. Spent pretty much every day that summer between freshman and sophomore year just throwing the disc.
Ben Wiggins once told me there's no way that a professional basketball player is going to go a day without shooting the basketball or playing with it. And you expect elite level throwers to be good without touching the disc every day.
Clark had it, lost it, backpedaling to the sideline.
Wiggins, of course, has the authorship of the popular Zen throwing routine. And then also, for anybody else who's looking for an alternative, there's also Kung Fu throwing by another famous Seattle Sockeye member, Lou Burris.
Popular Zen throwing routine. Canada has scored a couple times in a row here.
Able to work it.
Masters final, 6-3 now.
He's able to work it through, and that's why a lot of times I don't like letting up backhands into the wind. It's an easier throw to get spin on, and once the defense isn't tight enough, much easier throw to deliver. If you're interested in looking up those throwing routines, Zen throwing or Kung Fu throwing, you can find them on skydmagazine.com.
Along with a lot of great stuff, including coverage from the great players themselves here in Dubai. Brett Matsuka, the U.S. Open team, scribing a fantastic post the other day. Anna Nazaroff of the women's team has logged, I think, 3 times now. She's got a very unique experience ahead of her tomorrow. Nazaroff, one of the top women's players in the game today, born in Russia, moved to the U.S. with her family around 10 years old. That hit the sand. Murray says he got it, and no argument from the Canadiens. A spectacular grab as the U.S. team takes half 7-3. Nazaroff will lead the U.S. women's team against the country she was born in the women's final tomorrow. USA versus Russia in that women's title game. This is a spectacular grab here by Murray.
Slowing it down to super slow-mo.
What do you think?
I don't know in that case. Sand is a tricky to detect here. He may have gotten his hand underneath it before, but no argument, so it's going to count anyways. It's one thing.
Grant will pull here for the U.S. after they take a 7-3 lead.
You know, it's one thing for especially younger players, and just I'm reminded to talk so much in the fundamentals of the game. It used to be, oh, okay, I need to be as athletic as Tyler DiGirolamo. I need to be able to jump over a guy like Bo Kittredge. I need to be able to have, you know, the speed of the game like some of the other top athletes. But in reality, a lot of people just need that repetition and practice to speak up, and the experience. There's so many ways to get better, enhance your ultimate IQ. It's important for younger players to not lose hope. I've seen a lot of personal friends make their way through to the elite levels.
Wooten able to connect with Schmucker. And now Grant for Wooten over his head. It's hard to throw it over the head of one of the Wooten brothers. Long marked by Grant for Welsh. Mixed gender matchup downfield with Wooten lingering. Basically, he's just playing free safety down there. And they're working it up underneath, and Canada cannot capitalize. Meanwhile, Schmucker racing deep, and that's a beautiful throw, and USA leads 8-3. Strategy a bit unorthodox perhaps, and Canada missed an opportunity which the U.S. quickly capitalizes on.
A miscommunication by Welsh, trying to throw to an open receiver, and when you get to the end zone and you're open, you have to be ready in this game. It still at the same time shouldn't have been thrown. It's reading the situation a little bit incorrectly. Canada, the pace they're pursuing there, they got a little bit too hasty. They got a couple of open passes, and they had a chance to get back in this game because at 7-4, you're still within 3. Yes, you're running out of time, but it only takes a few passes to get back in the game and the win. You get an upwind, you get a break, you get the momentum on your side, the right defense, and a couple of mistakes by the other team. You're going to have your offensive chances.
This looks like another coronation for the United States in the Masters division. Now leading at 8-3. Connection, Grant and Schmucker. Pole lands just wide. Two of the very many great volunteers in the red WCBU jerseys. They volunteer their time. They do get some nice swag to go for their troubles. Represent their big part in this week's success. Off the hand of one Canadian and grabbed by the other. His body's tumbled near the end zone line. That's a tough travel call to make there.
Ultimate, again, a self-refereed sport. Players are going to resolve their disputes on the field. For those listening in for the first time, there'll be a call made by a player. The other player will respond. The call is made on contest or no contest, and there will be a certain outcome based on that decision.
And a hand block. Remy Shore knocked that one away. Nice job by the Canadian defender there, John Chua. Cutting off the ankle of Uhl, who was chasing for that disc. Katzenbach on the mark, and a deep shot. 2 USA players closest to it. No real Canadians in the vicinity there.
We've got some great matchups, though, tomorrow coming your way. One of them particularly looking forward to is Team USA versus Great Britain.
Yes, sir.
We'll see Justin Ford and the Great Britain squad, mostly a Clapham squad, face off against USA, who just survived an intense universe point against the Philippines.
Justin Ford and that Great Britain team enjoying the comforts of home and mother's cooking. Justin Ford's mother lives here in Dubai, about a 4 or 5 minute drive from the beach. The entire team is staying over there and enjoying a different type of experience, a more homely one. Not to say our accommodations aren't very adequate, but different flavor for that team for sure. 8-3 USA leads Canada. 5 minutes away from the soft cap.
Well, after we got past the Evan, you almost blowing out the power in our room and the flooding shower, I think we've gotten a more homely accommodation later in the week.
Yeah, do not try to put an American power strip. What a catch there as Katzenbach laid up and could come up with it. And the question of inbounds or out of bounds becomes a factor. Please be advised, do not try to put an American power strip into an adapter that is hooked up to the electric plug on the wall. It's a great catch. Hard to tell, they say inbounds.
Katzenbach even getting a hand on it.
Narrowly avoided a serious electrocution injury. And you were just so concerned at the time.
I had a great view of the play. What can I say, Evan? I
thought it was an ingenious idea. You bring the power strip, you brought the converter. We'd have limitless power, and the hotel that we're at has the electricity set up to deny us that luxury.
I do have to say, though, we immediately had someone up to reset the fuse when things blew out. The service has been great.
Yes.
Everybody in Dubai has been so hospitable. If you're thinking about taking a vacation here, I recommend it. We've got the chance to kind of experience the beach life on some of the most amazing resorts just on the fringe.
And when are we going to the Burj Khalifa? That's something that we still need to do. The tallest building in the world. That's going to sail out of play.
Now we're about 30 minutes south of the airport, and I believe one of the factoids you found, Evan, was, what is it, the seventh most visited city in the world by international tourists and travelers. This is Tang. Lauren Tang centers the disc for Sean Chua. To the far sideline, Jen LaRue. And Katzenbach lays out and prevents the goal. Long shot tipped up into the hands of Dan Furfari. And he takes the timeout. There's no stall count. USA will use its only timeout of the game. It's a chance to get a breather and try to put in this basically clinching goal. So we take a look at the replay.
Now, is this a good throw or a bad throw?
Evan, I think by now you know the difference. I love the opportunity. I think it's just a great put deep.
You want to say it or should I? Sean Chua, if you're playing defense one day and the disc is coming right to your hands, you might want to try to catch it. And I'm sure he knows that, and I'm sure he's thinking that. And if he's watching this archive a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, he will be regretting that lack of catch of his D. That layout from earlier, spectacular by Sean Murray.
It's amazing to think of where the ultimate community has come in terms of media for the last 10 years. You know, when we started playing Evan, it was Rec Sport Disc, which still exists, but I don't think anybody's on it.
How often do you check RSD these days?
I haven't checked it in months, actually.
I'd say like once every month and a half or so. Because you never know what might be on there.
But then you went from blogs like Match Diesel. We saw some other magazines and other people start things up. Get Horizontal started, I believe, in the early 2000s. Sky Magazine was on the scene, providing commentary and coverage, and then soon we have Ultiworld, ESPN, a lot of outlets.
Right through the hands and incomplete.
Here on Dubai Sports, we get this amazing opportunity.
Certainly, you know, USA Ultimate's multi-year deal with ESPN, and people can critique certain aspects of it. Obviously, you know, the broadcasters can be annoying from time to time, but overall, to have that, you know, exposure, it is a significant step forward. The worldwide leader in sports taking more of an interest in Ultimate. Some of the top highlights from the AUDL in the top 10. Some of the great plays from college nationals. That Haley Walrus layout for Oregon that was just littered across the top 10 for a while.
You know, you look at when Facebook is all of a sudden you appear and Lil Wayne has shared Mark Lloyd getting a dominating D against my own Rochester Dragons. You kind of know that Ultimate is starting to permeate all avenues.
Soft cap will go on after this point. Katzenbach to Mark Milne. Two captains. What a layout there. Perhaps a tad reckless from Keegan Uhl, who landed hard on the back of his Canadian counterpart.
You know, you love to see exciting plays, but sometimes at the cost, like you said, of being reckless. And it's a great attempt, and I'm sure he thought he was going to get past the receiver.
Sean Chua took the worst of that, but he's up on his feet, walking off, and appears to be all right. Scott Hasty replacing, no, just came on the field to check on his teammate. It's Norman Liu replacing Chua.
Have you ever seen Scott Hasty without a clipboard?
Rarely without a clipboard and rarely without a smile. Megan and I were chatting about possible AUDL expansion with him. Like, he wants to be the coach of the team here in Dubai, which would certainly increase travel costs, but I'm open to the idea.
Sign me up. You still haven't gone for a swim.
I put my feet in. It's chilly right now with the wind gusting behind us. Of course, we're in the shade, haven't had much sun, which is probably a good thing for the skin. But
we know you Southerners, you get all the sunshine you want, and you want it a little bit warmer to go in the water.
I will go in the water before I leave the city. Won't say how deep I'll get, but Grant flips into the middle of the field. Bridget Kane back to Katzenbach and right through the clap catch attempt of Grant. Let one rip. Not much chance for success there. It's a long 12-point. What a gorgeous view of the entire beach complex. The Dubai skyline as we pan towards the ocean. Fantastic piece of perspective right there. 5 different countries, over 1,000 athletes in the 7 different divisions, and 7 championship games, 1 already decided in the women's masters division. USA beat Canada, and a frustrated Keegan Ohl comes up empty there. He had an extra step, didn't quite know his whereabouts on the field as well as he could have there.
One of the reasons we talked about kind of when we're looking at ultimate royalty here with Team Canada, Team USA, one of the strengths that you see is just the amount of players who played high school sports. It's not that common actually in the rest of the world, and you didn't really learn that until you go out to a European tournament and you find out the Netherlands struggles to get participation, for instance. And countries have only 80 to 100 players that actually play.
This one will sail out the back. Well, even if USA scores here, we're still going to have 1 more point because the soft cap goes on when this point concludes. It really is quite warm here, especially in the sun. Beautiful time of year. It does get quite hot during the summer months, of course. The average is in triple digits, but spring comfortably 70s and 80s, occasionally up into the 90s, but for the most part this week it has been perfect with the small exception of the torrential winds.
I've been told that's a changing of the seasons. We are starting to get towards summer.
Many in my hometown of Boston are very grateful for that. Buried under the snow. They were doing cartwheels when it became 40 degrees Fahrenheit, just barely above freezing. There has not been very much drama in this mixed Masters final. Sort of a sigh of relief for that point to finally come to its end as Jen LaRue makes the grab in the end zone. USA needs 1 more and the offensive line will take the field. We've hardly seen any of Kimberly Beach in this game, one of the O-line stalwarts for this team, because they haven't had too many O-line chances. But it'll be Beach out there with Clark and Murray and Winter. Maureen McCamley, the 5th American on this line, which could clinch gold for the USA.
Would be their first gold of the tournament. Excuse me. We actually just went from that to being Greg's 2nd gold.
2 for 2, but it won't be 7 for 7 because of what we saw earlier today in one of the semifinals, the mixed semi. Non-Masters division. Big upset in the wind with Canada prevailing behind the handling of Jeremy Norden, the deep cutting of Yolan Cabot. Murray can't end it here. Look out, guys. Running into the barricade nearly. Made the catch, but beyond the back line of the end zone.
Don't worry.
This is the final game of Thursday here at the beach. And tomorrow, some preliminary consolation games, I should say, in the morning at other fields, but 10:15 local time for the Grandmasters final. It's 2:15 on the east coast of the U.S. and 11:15 for those who stay up a little late on the west coast, and then through the night we'll have 5 finals for you. 2 in a row for Canada here. The Open Masters final will be 11:30 local time a.m. and then 12:45 p.m. here for the women's. 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the Open final, and then the mixed final around 3:15. That's 7:15 a.m. Eastern time. Never on a broadcast before have I spent so much time explaining time zones and doing the math in my head and being worried about my arithmetic going awry.
Well, this is the first time you got to travel. Is it the first time you got to travel internationally to do a sports broadcast?
You know, I been to Canada, if that counts. Yeah, first time leaving the North American continent to broadcast.
I can tell you when I showed up with a passport that went through the wash to Europe and I told them, hey, it works in Canada, they didn't seem to care too much about that.
Did it work eventually?
They did let me through. I did have to get a new one because 2 weeks after that I was going to Japan for WUGC.
World traveler Brian Jones. Here's Katzenbach. Centers for McCamley. And to the end zone. Gold for the USA Mixed Masters. Tyler Grant hauls in the game-winning, gold medal-winning final goal.
Evan, we had a conversation earlier about just the camaraderie that exists amongst teams like this. It's something that players miss. You hear it from ex-NFL players. They don't miss the intense workouts, but they miss the guys. They miss the teammates. They miss all of these type of experiences. Anytime you got a chance to win a tournament with a group of people, you're going to share that memory and that bond forever.
So Team USA goes undefeated in the Mixed Masters division, just like the female Masters did. So 2 championship games and 2 gold medals for the United States Ultimate delegation here at the Beach World Championships of Ultimate. That'll wrap up our Thursday coverage, but coming up on Friday, we'll have 5 championship games for you. Grand Masters, Open Masters, Women's, Open, and Mixed. For our entire crew, Dubai Sports in partnership with Sky Magazine, and for the silent Megan Tormey, she'll be back tomorrow. For my broadcasting partner, Brian Jones, this is Evan Lepler saying good afternoon from the beaches in Dubai. USA takes gold in the Mixed Masters by a final of 9-5 over Canada. Big day coming up tomorrow. Hope you'll join us then. So long, everybody.